Welcome to this third session of the Nordic stage. We are in Brussels. We are on site in the Norway House, and we are online, having audience from all around Europe, Nordic, and the world. It's the third program, and we're going to dive deep into product service systems and digital product passports. And I can reveal that this session has really been ramplified by it's a very popular topic. And we are blown away how many, and we can see it's a full room. I heard that it's not very often it's this crowded with so much energy. So it is hosted by NCE, the Nordics Council of Ministers Working Group of Circular Economy. It's together with the Nordic Innovation and Nordic Circular Hotspot, which is hosting this Nordic stage, which is a collaborative effort to align the Nordics within and the Nordics with abroad for the efforts for circular economy. Now we're going to dive deep and aim really high together, because we truly believe that when the Nordics collaborate, we are able to we have the longest journey to walk to do the circular transition. But when we do collaborate, we know that we might make the circular economy happen sooner, not later. This session will explore the product service systems as a means to pave way for the circular business and sustainable consumption in the Nordics. Additionally, a digital product passports, as we call DPP, in the tribe language, will be required for all products available in the EU market in the coming years. We will today learn how the Finnish forerunner companies have piloted DPPs already and what we can acquire of learnings and experiences from them, and bring together data on product sustainability, raw materials, and safety. So this session is part of the full day program of Nordic Stage, and I'm very happy. My name is Catherine Barth. I'm one of the managing partners and co-founder of the Nordic Circular Hotspot, and we are very eager to share the program. I'll run very fast through with you. We will be welcoming Birte Ivars from the Consular Mission of Norway. We will listen to a newly launched report and get some time to acquire new data and experiences. We will also dive deep into digital product passports, how this will be enabling the businesses from those who are really in the field. And we will also learn how the textile and fashion industry is now applying this and testing this as a European data ecosystem. And finally, we'll also have digital product passports, how it aligns with reporting. And we're also very happy that Dr. Thomas Ebert, who is representing the European Commission, will be here to provide his point of views on this as well. So now is the time to welcome Birte Ivars. You're representing the opening session, and welcome to the stage, and the topic is yours.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Yes, as said, I'm working here as an environment councillor at the Mission of Norway and on leave from the Norwegian Ministry of Environment and Climate. Sustainable product policy frameworks is a cornerstone of the circular economy. This entails careful consideration of all phases of a product life cycle, from design through use to disposal. Each phase can be made more circular based on conscious choice. Up to 80% of a product's environmental impacts are determined at the design phase. The design phase also impacts how practical and economical it is to repair and recycle a product. The use phase can be based on product sharing and/or reuse, reducing the number of products and enhancing product longevity. Different types of product ownership impact the way designers, retailers, and consumers are incentivized and think about products. In the traditional linear model, where a product is sold to the consumer to be used to its end of life, the incentive for a brand is mainly to sell as many products as possible. In new circular models, where, for example, the brand owns a product and leases the product to consumers or other businesses, incentives change radically. It is important to understand the impact of such changes in incentives. How can new models for product ownership create jobs and benefit the environment? These are some of the questions that the Nordic Council of Ministers Working Group on Circular Economy, or NCE, have been exploring. When a product enters its end-of-life phase, the decision to reuse can be made if possible and available. If not, products should be recycled to make good use of resources. To effectively reuse or recycle, it is important to know the content of the product. The transition to a circular economy will have major consequences for both producers and consumers in years to come. Several EU initiatives directly or indirectly align sustainable products policy with the circular economy, such as the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation and the proposed Green Claims Directive. These initiatives consider environmental issues and provide a level playing field within the EU single market. The Nordic Working Group on Circular Economy, NCE, is mandated to promote the transition to a circular economy in the Nordics. NCE does this by developing and disseminating relevant and timely knowledge, and has in the last couple of years published several reports that are useful to decision makers, both in the Nordic countries and in the EU. Today we will focus on two different aspects of sustainable products. We start with the presentation of the project product service systems in the Nordics, in which several businesses participate to pilot PSS in practice. The most common aspect of product services systems is the sharing economy, and this project, carried out by Norion Consulting, helps businesses to make sharing of bikes, tools, sports equipment, and even balls sustainable. As we will hear, the project has discovered a lot of barriers, but also a lot of opportunities. While product service systems is about the use phase of sustainable product, the usefulness of digital passports becomes obvious when products need repairs and at the end of life, facilitating product recycling and proper waste management. Regulations on digital passports are currently developed and businesses need to adapt accordingly. We will hear examples of the advantages of digital passports in the second part of the session, introduced by the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra. Sustainable product policy has been a focus of Nordic cooperation for several years, primarily through a working group of experts focusing on the PEF methodology, an EU-developed methodology to measure the environmental impact of products. Building on its experience with PEF, and given that sustainable products are so central to the circular economy, the Nordic Working Group for Circular Economy is currently expanding its work to other relevant policy frameworks, such as the Eco-Design Regulation and the Green Claims Directive. Nordic countries aim to be at the forefront in the transition to a more circular economy. For this reason, sustainable product policy is currently a prioritized topic for the Nordic Working Group on Circular Economy, together with critical raw materials, financial incentives, and waste prevention. NCE's recent publications have included, for example, works on low carbon, circular transition, batteries, life cycle assessment on packaging, and recycling of critical raw materials. All the reports that NCE has published are available on norden.org. Now we are very pleased to share some of the insights with all of you today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for hosting us here, Birte Ivars. Thank you for gathering this and also making clear the enormous effort which is actually done by the collaboration between the environmental authorities within the Nordics. So here we we are going to do some kind of a tap dance. We're going like high, and now we will go to the moment where you will be revealing one of the reports and welcoming. So the main topic will be how we will understand the role of products and the different product policies. So Kia Egeberg, you're senior consultant and partner at Norian Consulting. We will get a presentation from you of the policy approach, dive into the black box of ownership models. It's quite exciting, and we have been tapping into this previously today as well, as we transition from product to service. And Kia, welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Let's see if this works. Well, I'm Kia Ebeck. I'm from Norian Consult, and I'm here to talk about our project, Product Service Systems, and how Product Service Systems can be a way to achieve circularity within consumption models. Over there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm from Norian. We are a Danish consultancy firm. We have 40 really clever colleagues working within sustainability in the broader sense, so within circular economy, but also within other areas of sustainability. And we are consultants to the Nordic Council of Ministers. We have done a lot of reporting, some of them presented here today, but also the EU Commission, the EEA, and a lot of different countries developing strategies for national agencies and for companies and municipalities. And then we are a partner at the European topic for circular economy. Let's see. Maybe I should move over here, actually. Mm-hmm. So, I work with strategy development within different types of projects, but also for companies and agencies. And I'm the project manager of this project, and also together with Bjørn, who's here today, our director in Norian, we are working with circular value chains for the European Commission, where we are investigating how can we analyze value chains when they are linear and when they are circular, and how can we transform the linear value chains into more circularity. So very interesting project we're going to explore the next couple of years. This is going to be a bit tiring because I have a lot of animations. But about the project, Product Service Systems, paving the way for circular business and sustainable consumption. It's initiated by the Nordic Council of Ministers in November 21, so we have been working tirelessly for a couple of years now. And the project explores whether, when, and how PSS models can be successful in a Nordic context. And by successful here, we mean delivering resource efficiency, but also economic gains. So we have 5 steps in the project, and we have already done an overview of the existing PSS models that we see in the Nordic countries. We have developed a model of how we can define the key product groups that are being used within the Nordic countries. And then we have made a very thorough analysis of the potential of PSS in the Nordics, including a barrier analysis on barriers and drivers and policies that's enabling or hindering PSS in the Nordics. And now we are in the midst of the pilot implementation. So we have developed and are now realizing and supporting 15 different companies working with PSS today, or exploring how to be able to work with PSS in all of the Nordic countries. And from that, we are going to do the final report later this year and evaluate how is it going with the pilots that we're working with. Are they succeeding? What are the main barriers? So we have already a couple of reports at the project webpage, but the final report will be finalized this year. So, Product Service Systems, what is it? In literature, we talk about a system of products, services, networks, actors, and infrastructure. And the goal is to satisfy customer needs in a competitive way, as well as to reduce the environmental impact. And here we're talking about the service systems compared to the linear model. So what is the difference? What type of products are we now not producing because we have a service system? And in this we have, there's something wrong with the presentation here. In PSS models, the goods are in varying degrees sold as services. I will get into this. And the key here is that the producer retains the ownership of the products, enabling higher quality products. And so PSS is often considered a solution for decoupling economic growth from resource consumption. But we see that PSS is not inherently sustainable. It's not always the case. Even though we see that the companies working with PSS usually really wants to achieve environmental benefits, not always the case. So when we talk about product service systems, we do so typically in the TOGA scale. TOGA developed this in 2004. And here we talk about product service systems going from value mainly in the product over to value mainly in service content. So we have different types, and this is all represented by a PSS solution, but with different types of services involved. Just to quickly exemplify, we can see in the product-oriented category, there could be a PSS provider delivering the sale of a product, for example, furniture, where they are providing a lot of services in how to make the room feel good, but also having additional services in take-back and repair and maintenance and resale of the product. The use-oriented is the most commonly known PSS, where we have product lease, product sharing, product pooling. And if I can click, an example could be a company providing a really high quality toys each month. So the value proposition here would be that you get the new toys for your kids without all the clutter. And here there could also be extra services with some demands for the quality of the products and educational experts providing the toys. And then result-oriented, moving over to more service-oriented, we have here Rent a Cow, where you can rent a cow for nature conservation. And here the service provider actually takes all of the responsibility of nature conservation. So you just have your field, you get your cow, and it's taken back afterwards, and you know that everything is working perfectly. So we have looked into all of these different models, and then we have developed this overview of the different cases of PSS. So these are all product groups that are being used today in the Nordics. And all of these product groups are being used in at least 3 different countries and at least 10 different cases. So we mapped 300 cases of PSS across the Nordics. And there's a lot more going on, but we wanted to have 300 varying different cases representing these product groups. And today we are now digging deeper into how are these actually working? How is this functioning today? And then we have the 15 cases covering almost all of the overall product groups. It was very difficult to get electronic equipment. Maybe some of the representatives here today would be willing to talk to us. But we are covering most of the areas, looking into how are they functioning? What are the barriers? How can we assist them in achieving what they really want to do, which is more sustainability and a better consumption model? So this is just an overall view of a product journey or the customer journey in a PSS model. And when we look into this, we can see there's a lot of barriers going on. There's also a lot of solutions, but there's a lot of stuff going on when we're talking about PSS. Firstly, discovering PSS. We talked about this earlier. What is a PSS? It's called PSS. It's called product ownership models. It calls everything as a service. How do we find it? What does it mean? How is it operating? Just discovering the PSS is actually quite difficult. And then we have the supply and demand. We have a big issue of product availability due to the fact that PSS, you're not just buying a product and then selling it on. You have to buy a lot of products. And then you have to rely on the fact that you're going to get the investment paid back at a later stage. So it's also very difficult to get funding to these types of models, investments, because it's not fitting into the models that we have for investments today. Then there's a lot of different actors working together to create this system, because it is a system of networks and people. So you need many more actors, and they all need to work together. This is also what we are analyzing for the European Commission and the Value Chain Project. Then there's the product acquisition. We see that a lot of PSS companies, they have a lot of information and discussions with their clients, but then when the client get the product, then the information exchange stop. And this means that a lot of the PSS companies don't really know what's going on, how is the use phase going on, and there's a lot of emotional value attached to products. For example, when we are thinking about textile PSS, or even so much more when we're talking about children products. You get attached to the product. It's difficult to give it back. Then that's the issue of quality control. We talked about it earlier today. You need to know how much is the product value when it's being used 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, or 100 times. How can we, going back to the renting, subscribing, how can we develop a model for the pricing of these products after each use cycle? And then there's the question mark. We don't know what's going on in the use phase. We don't know the difference between a PSS model. So if I'm renting a bicycle, how many times am I using this bicycle compared to if I'm buying the bicycle? Are there any differences? It's very difficult to get this information. You need to do a lot of different analysis, and this makes it difficult to get the documentation that we need. We need the documentation about the environmental benefits of these PSS models, and we need to do it on the basis of each case. Otherwise, we can't really say anything in particular about it. So, we have an issue with lack of evidence of the environmental benefit of these PSS models. Because most companies don't document the environmental benefits, it's really difficult to do. So the positive impacts today are mostly assumed and not demonstrated. We have all of these PSS models. We think they are environmental beneficial, so we really hope they are, but we don't always know for sure. And we need to compare the benefits against a linear model, and it's very difficult because of all the assumptions that we need to rely on. So even though we are still talking about environmental gains potential and looking at all of these many different PSS models and how they're operating, we can see that we have 4 overall categories of environmental gains potential. So a PSS provider can target 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but they need to target some of them in order to have environmental benefits. So they can avoid new production by the sharing of products. They can improve life extension through structured maintenance and upgrades, and also, very importantly, through developing or producing products with a high quality, very durable, flexible, and with the option of getting new products if it's broken. Then they can improve the use phase of the product. In particular, if we're talking about energy-consuming products, we can minimize reuse by providing higher quality products. And then there's a reduced waste generation by appropriate take-back systems and reusing, upcycling, and also recycling. No. I don't know what happened to my presentation. So how do we calculate the effects of PSS? When we are looking into the companies that we're working together with, we are comparing, of course, the model of PSS against a system of conventional ownership. And each type of system involves an additional investment. So we're talking about the social investment, the economic investment, and the environmental investment. Everything has a cost. And in return of that investment, the system will yield a product utility. And the more sustainable system delivers utility at a lower emission cost. So this investment has to deliver a utility. So we take an example of a very pretty prom dress here. That's an occasional wear. It's made of polyester. It's weighing 800 grams. And then we have the conventional ownership. Here we have the assumptions, which we need to assume something. So we assume that in a normal lifespan, this product will last 4 years. It will be worn 2 times per year. Somebody's going to a lot of proms. It will be cleaned once every other use, so 4 times in total. And then we say, okay, instead of buying this pretty dress and having it on for each occasion, you can just rent it. So we have a PSS model, renting out dresses. A monthly rental for 6 years, because we are taking good care of the dress, so it lasts for a bit longer. And it's rented out 1/3 of the time, and it's used once per rental and cleaned every use. So now we have the costs, and everything costs the same, it's just different calculations. So we have the cost of raw materials, cleaning, disposal, transport, and then we have the conventional. Here we have the calculation based on what I just talked about. So we can see we have a total cost and we have a cost per unit of utility. In the same way, we can calculate the PSS cost, maybe. Somebody has been messing up with my presentation. But here we have the PSS. We also have the same calculation. And we have a total utility of the 6 uses, and we have a cost per unit of utility. And this means, if we look at the boxes are moved away, but we have here 1.6 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, and here we have a cost of 1.8 kilograms. There's something wrong. Oh, it's because, sorry, it's messing up. So if we have this is the calculation that we made earlier. So we have 24 uses of the dress. It's used a lot. And this will mean that the cost per unit of utility would be 1.42 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. This means that the PSS model is the environmental beneficial way. However, if it's an ugly dress, it's a dress that's not very popular, it's not getting rented out as many times as we want it to be, so it only has 6 uses in total in the same year. Then it would mean that we have actually a higher cost per unit of utility in the PSS. So it would have been preferred if I just bought the prom dress and used it. So this means that we actually have to look very deep into the assumption and also the calculations and the material, the transportation and the washing and everything in each case, because very similar models of PSS can have very different outcomes in these calculations. So I know we're going to talk a lot about textiles today, so I just focused on this. You know, we have a lot of different areas covered in the project, but looking into the textile PSS companies in the Nordics, we see that even though we are not calculating all of the different models, we are doing calculations on some of them, and we see improved product lifespan. And this is due to the economic incitement that the producer have. They need to develop a dress, or when we're talking about children clothing, you can see it's getting torn out really quickly when you buy it from H&M. But if you have a leasing, you need to have a high quality, durable product that can be used many times, need to endure a lot of wear and tear. We see less production due to the sharing of, in particular, occasional products. And we see, I have to hurry up. We see improved use phase of the products with energy efficient maintenance, in particular when we're talking about workwear. It's much more efficient if we get the workwear at a central cleaning with a very efficient energy resource efficient cleaning process than if everybody does it at home and maybe sometimes you accidentally put it on 90 degrees. So we see improved use phase with a PSS model. And we also see this in literature. When we see literature about PSS models, we see that 71% of consumers are actually interested in these types of models, according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And we see a high market potential for, in particular, online rental service. And we also see calculations that the potential to increase the use rate is actually from 25 to 40 users per item by 2013. So we see a lot of evidence backing up that this is the right way forward, but unfortunately, we also see, as Marta said here earlier today, that a lot of these companies are closing down, in particular the textiles. Just before arriving here today, we got the disheartening news that some of our PSS companies are closing down, actually. After being engaged in the market for more than a decade, it has to close down now. And it's, why? Economic. It's difficult to, it's barely going on. So after 10 years, they decided they needed to try something else. And it was very difficult to get the financing on board. Some, even though they have economically viable options, then the financing stops because it doesn't really fit into the matrix of financing. So we got a bit curious, and we went back to our investigation in 21, where we mapped more than 30 cases of PSS for textiles, and we looked into how many are still existing. And 1/3 of the companies actually had to close down between the 2 years that has gone. So it is a bit disheartening. But we also learn a lot from investigating this. And we have talked to a lot of the consumers from the company that is closing down now. And they are devastated that they do not longer have this option, because not only did they actually reduce their consumption, they also gained, they got to be part of a community where not only the textile area was had an impact, but also in many other areas, because they had the option to talk to each other. So yeah, we're looking more into this, and every time we analyze this, we know a bit more about how can we configure these models, and also we need to stand together in the Nordics, I think, to have a better policies that regulates the market, so it's easier for these companies who really wants to do good to actually stay on the market. Yeah, I think I'm being sent down now.
Yeah, we'll invite you back later on.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much, Kia. And it's really interesting to learn how deep you have been diving the last years, this large clustering, and still how many questions we have, and how brave they are, those newcomers who dare to go into circular business models. And let's not reinvent the wheel, but learn together. This session is co-hosted with one of the most remarkable frontrunner organizations in the world, and I'm very happy to share that this is actually Sitra. Sitra is we are not only on the third session of today, but we're third day of World Circular Economy Forum. For 3 days, the world has been listening to the most remarkable dialogues. How might the world go together? The economy is global, the solutions are local. And that's why I'm very, very happy to invite to the stage Lara Hallenius, Project Director of Sitra, because you really, really engage bottom up and top down, and how we can identify the products and materials has been talk of the town. You not only talk, you walk, and we will see that DPP will become mandatory with large number of industries within a few years. So we are very, very happy to listen to the Finnish innovation fund Sitra, how DPP will enable and scale the circular businesses. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here today and talk a little bit about how we can accelerate the circular business models with the aid of data. And as Kia just said, it is really, really important that we have the concrete solutions that have actually sustainable business models. And we can only learn from those, from the experiments that we now make. Not all of them are going to be successful, but I think we need the brave examples. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about digital product passports as enablers of sustainable business. First, I'm introducing you the concept of DPP, the digital product passport, and tell about a little bit why we see it as accelerator of the circular economy business models. And then after that, I'm going to give you some key insights from our pilot projects that we have been financing. And can you please change the slide? So a little bit about Sitra. Can I have the Sitra slide? We are Think, Do, and Connect Tank. And what that means is that we finance the early stage innovations that we have see that have a social impact. The other thing that we do is that we bring the change makers around our society together to accelerate the needed change, like the World Circular Economy has done. And the third thing that we do is actually the traditional think tank work. We also have to have the written documentation, so we can have the meaningful discussion. So we write and publish some reports. And can you please change the slide? We work nowadays with 3 teams, one of them being democracy, one of them being sustainable solutions, and the third one is fair data economy. And of course, the most important things come when you combine these 3 teams. And as a part of the fair data economy team, we are also facilitating the Finnish national fair data economy roadmap. And one of that work's goal is to accelerate the green transition with aid of data and AI. And we are quite aligned what the European Commission is at the moment also doing. And I just saw the Enrico Letta's newest report, and he wrote, shifting to circular economy is the only possibility of saving the planet. The only possibility. So we have to keep this in mind. And the European Commission has done a lot. We have the Green Deal, we have the EU Digital Decade, and this combined will shift us towards a greener future. But one of the biggest obstacles when we start to move to circular economy is the lack of data. If the data doesn't circulate, we cannot shift to circular economy business models. And here, the key is actually the digital product passport. This will be the concrete tool that we can use to make the product data to circulate within the physical services and products. And this is going to change a lot. If you want to know what digital product passport is, the easiest way to understand it's a digital twin of the product. I see the Commission shaking his head, but it's the easiest way maybe to think about it. And of course, things are quite complex. And we know that the Commission is preparing a regulation when it comes to the digital product passport, but this is not so well-known concept. And that is why Sitra has now financed pilots around different sectors like textiles, batteries, and logistics. And we have also gathered the key learnings that we have with this one in the working paper that we just published. I will give you the QR code for the paper at the end of my presentation, so I will have now your full attention. But if you are eager to grab the digital publication, you can find it from our website, sitra.fi. But bear with me for a moment. So, yeah. So, we have been piloting in 3 areas: textile industry, logistics, and battery. And you will hear about the logistics and textile industry later on, so I'm not going now really deeply into this. But I have to say something about, for me, the most impactful example is the steel industry. How you can differentiate your steel from the steel, if you are CO2 neutral steel producer, how you can differentiate it with the steel that is produced, for example, in China. And the DPP can actually play a major role in this. And after you can show that this steel is CO2 neutral, you can also charge a premium. So I think this is really good example what the DPP, what kind of role DPP can have. But we still have some problems. The adaptation of DPPs are really early stage. Companies strive to navigate in the complex environment of the regulation. So we really need some support from the industry association. And we at Sitra have now founded the Finnish Research Center, VTT, and they are now starting in Finland this peer learning network called FinPass. And this is something that I really encourage other countries to do also. And at the EU level, we have the CIRPAS 2 projects, and I see it really valuable tool. And the Commission, thank you being here today, should really do the regulation, close collaboration with the industry, so we do this time right. And we also need technical solutions that help companies to navigate and facilitate the data sharing. And I think there's a huge market potential there. And if you want to scan the QR code, you can see what the Finnish company Ioxio has done with the 6 mobile working machines consortium. There's an actual mock-up of the DPP there. And I will stop here, and I hope we have some nice discussions, but I just want to say that at their best, if we do this right, the digital product passports are means to repatriate manufacturing to Europe and strengthen European autonomy. And here you now have the QR code for our working paper, so please scan it, please read it, and please give us some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura Halsenius. It's Hallenius. We don't need to reinvent the wheels. So when you ask what is the role of the Nordic, is maybe to accelerate the way we may do, and that's how we might collaborate. We are a market with 27 million customers and users, and through the last 2 sessions, we have been on 2 journeys. We see Product Service Systems invites for customer journeys, and the DPP is inviting for material journeys, and how they will start fitting together. It's quite exciting to listen to those who have been in the field for a while. So Maria-Liisa Ninnikoski, Managing Director, Finnish Textile and Fashion. You have some experiences you're ready to share with us. So please enter the stage, and the stage is yours.
Hi everyone, how are you? Good. Still continuing this session. Happy to be with you here in the space and online if you are following this. So, lots of regulation coming to this industry, and this is only one of them. I mean, to this industry, textile and fashion. And hopefully, all this regulation will also create us business opportunities, because the competition is global, especially in this industry. And I hope that Europe and European Union, all the internal market, can really make successful business and growth, and that we not only over-regulate our industries, but we can innovate and use the regulation in order to make a more sustainable world with the help of the regulation, not to die or make the industry to collapse. That's my wish for today's discussions. So now wondering, as the other presenters as well, that where to stand and go, yep, just hard enough is the advice. Well, we represent the industry in Finland. We negotiate the general labor agreements for the industry, and then we lobby for the industry, and we also offer services. Eurotex is our really good partner here in this field when it comes to the lobbying for the industry. But what comes to the digital product passport, we started our first initiative 2021. And what we did, we wanted to look at the approach from the economic actors' viewpoint. So what this would mean in practical terms, what would be the technical feasibility, what the emerging regulation brings to the industry, what's the discussion about the trade secret protection at the same time, and stakeholder needs as well. So not only the regulation, but how to create business value and even create incentives for economic actors to support and adapt this concept. So, and as we all know, the textile value chain is the most complex across industries in the world. It's really divided all over the globe. It's not easy task to change this model, but at the same time, in a good way, the regulation can put us towards more sustainable in many ways, towards sustainable and circular products in many ways. So you can download this report on our website, and that was our first paper. We published this in October 2022. Based on that, we have then tried to understand further, especially from the company perspective, and discuss with solution providers, and then from the systemic or ecosystem perspective. Because no single company can solve this, no single software company or no single textile and fashion company. It's, to my understanding, this is a systemic approach which is needed. We need the standards as well, how to work in the global value chains in a way that enables this kind of data, what is needed if the regulation comes. Why we are so deep and interested in this? Because according to the plan, textile is the first area that this regulation will be implemented. Now when we go now towards the delegated acts, we really want to be in discussion and understand what kind of regulation is coming. So from the company perspective, we did one case example with Sitra. You heard about that already. Then we work with other 10 companies to pilot with them that what are their capabilities to enter to implement this. And we have discussed with the solution providers, and now we are turning towards a data ecosystem approach. And in order to understand that, my argumentation that there is no circular economy without data economy. So if we can approve and show that data is something which also can affect consumer behavior, that this is the way and the company's behavior, then we can verify that there is really value in terms of the circular business models and circular based approaches. But the task is not easy because the textile recycling ecosystem is huge. And how now we can understand that the data flows can be handled in this kind of ecosystem all over the globe? Well, the raw materials come from various countries over the globe. And when this industry itself has been really product intensive, the challenge for the industry actually is that, how at the same time in the industry and in the companies can turn from physical textile products and manage the data in the companies. That is a competence challenge at the same time. We know already that there are case examples from other industries, such as car manufacturing, how they try to develop their approach in order to understand this kind of data ecosystem and what kind of governance model there should be. But in order to go forward and not to rely on restricted data infrastructures or IT system, the whole thing is that how you can make this happen without various economic players. So one of the key is that we need common standards. And now we have joined the SIRPAS 2 project European-wide in order to understand that how the standards should be created. And we are particularly have a pilot which focuses on the R cycle, so reuse, replace, repair type of things and rental. So our pilot is about circularity, and now we don't focus on the consumer textiles because it's really challenging. We start with the workwear textiles to understand that how this kind of data can be implemented to the broad idea of the digital product passport and the circularity. But how to make a system level shift? I think it's not an easy task. We need the standards, common agreed data sharing practices, understand even the current implementation possibilities, and a lot of practical understanding how to make this happen. And also, it's essential to create a well-functioning data ecosystem for the sector, which then enable the efficient data sharing and utilization. So my proposals are for the future next steps are kind of here, that we at least want to go to the next phase, hopefully with the help of some stakeholders, that how we can start to build a governance model for this type of activity. What is the data analysis? What's the data transfer planning? How we can integrate the circular business economy model to this data sharing and utilization, and discuss the data business models as well. It's not only that we gather the data, cannot be the case that we invest to gather the data for regulation purposes. We need to understand how to make business out of this. So last but not least, is there a need for a common European approach for the textile data ecosystem, maybe, or for the broader understanding how we really create a business out of this regulation at the same time? So I hope that you can join this journey with us, and I really thank to have the opportunity to discuss our case this afternoon with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing your cases to the table, sharing how far you've come, and also reminding this is a system-level shift. No one can do this alone. And I want to be a keen reminder when we are gathering the Nordics that Europe within the EU and Europe outside of EU is not the same thing. And this is why I also urge the Nordic markets to collaborate, because this is how the markets might align. So thank you so much, Maria-Lisa. We are welcoming now, because there are a variety of regulations and frameworks that will shape the markets in a very short period of time. The reporting is certainly one of them. So for all the market stakeholders need to orient to how to approach this. I'm very happy to invite Magnus Gustafsson, your partner, a PhD at the PBI Research Institute. And you're actually going to open this black box, so digital product passports for reporting. And we start to talk about upstream and scope 3, then I'm very happy to swap my place with you. So welcome, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Magnus Gustafsson. Happy to be here. As said, I'm partner at PBI Research Institute, also research director in industrial management at Åbo Akademi University, which is a university in Finland. And I'm going to tell you about a pilot we've done. You could say a very Nordic pilot, because we've done it together with the Swedish company SSAB and the Norwegian company Orkla. And really going to focus on how can you get competitive advantage from sustainability. And take as a starting point, of course, how does it work? Okay. Now, we all know emissions have to come down, and not just CO2 emissions, that we need to have overall the environmental footprint in place here. Now, fortunately, there's a significant demand for sustainability. For example, at New York University, they've been studying consumer goods sales. These are actual sales figures, where you can see that products that are branded as sustainable fetch, on average, a 27% premium. That's a really nice premium. And that this product group, which represents about 20% of the market share, actually stands for 50% of the market growth. So this is really important. Similarly, on the capital market side, analysis by Bank of Canada shows that in companies that can show that they do not have climate risk in their supply chain, they get better financing terms. And then, of course, we all know that the EU is tightening regulations. There are all sorts of regulations coming, CSRD, SPR, and so on. And in February, for example, Zalando was hit by the European Commission for the fact that they've been making a lot of unsubstantiated green claims. So from now on, Zalando can't make any green claims unless they can come up with the facts. Now, goes a bit quickly. Fortunately, it's not demand exists, but so does technology. If you look at shipping, for example, this is supposed to be a hard-to-abate sector, but actually analysis shows that most of shipping you could actually eliminate a large part of emissions just by implementing existing technologies, and most of them would pay for themselves because you reduce by emissions by reducing fuel consumption. And of course, we all know that we've all seen these reports that renewable fuels, they are so expensive, and electric trucks are so extremely expensive. There's someone from Scania here, I believe. But if you look at how much the product at the end of the day, how much more expensive that one becomes, it's marginal. We looked at, for example, these risifrutti. These are snacks that are manufactured in Sweden and then they are shipped to Finland. And even though this, if you switch to biogas, which is 100% more expensive than LNG, then at the end of the day, this product becomes 0.3 cents more expensive. That's basically a rounding error. I mean, on an average sort of sale day, I mean, they'll give you a 10% discount. This is ridiculous. So you may ask, if the business case looks so good, why aren't the roads full of electric trucks and so on? And it comes to the fact that in order to make the business case work, make it profitable, you need the right business process. And this is one of the key issues where the DPP comes into fact, because if you're going to sell, for example, this renewable fuel, this transport, I mean, if you use this LBG, transport becomes maybe 20% more expensive. So in order to sell that, you need to give your customer a receipt. Your customer can't show up at accounting and say, hey, I just bought 20% more expensive transport. They need to show something for it. They need to show that, yes, the emissions were lower. Here are the facts. So you need it for accounting purposes. And of course, once you have it, you need to have it for the stakeholder communications. You need to show your investors that your emissions are low, and you need to provide it to your customers. Now, and this is something which is really a big issue. Finding data on scope emissions and knowing where the climate risks are, this is something that the capital markets are struggling with. And actually, also gathering this data is something which is considered really difficult. Lidl and SSAB, these are big companies. In their annual statements, they are saying that they find gathering this data really, really difficult. Now, forget this. What we did a pilot, with Orkla and SSAB, and we tracked for both companies 2 shipments, for SSAB steel rolls, and for Orkla these frozen French fries. And we tracked what the emissions were for each leg. These were multimodal transport, so it was land, sea, land, and on the product level. I'm going to show you, this is a schematic how we did it. More importantly, I'm going to show you a QR code, just like everyone else here. See now? Now, this is, for example, you can scan this, and what you'll see then is a report. And when you scroll down, you'll see what the emissions were. Here is for a conventional transport, here is for a low emission transport. You'll be able to see what were the emissions for each leg, transport leg. If you scroll down there, the sea leg is down there. And as you can see here, that for the conventional transport would be about 430 tons CO2, whereas using renewable fuels, it's only 120 tons of CO2. No point. So there you have it. You can show the proof. This was low emission transport. Okay, let's go on. Same thing for the French fries. And then we'll take the next slide and see if it comes. Right, so what are the benefits? Well, first of all, you'll fulfill the regulatory requirements, and that's of course important for all medium-sized and big companies. But more important is that you'll get data on what your footprint is where the climate risk is in your supply chain. So you'll be able to screen suppliers according to that. You'll be able to provide your customers with data showing that you do not constitute a climate risk. Most companies lack this data. And you can use it in sales and marketing. And at the end of the day, this is what enables actual investments into renewable, in sort of basically sustainable production. So what you need to do, You need to choose the right partners that can get competitive advantage from low emissions or sustainability. There's no point talking to anyone else. You need to identify the data you need. You need to start the reporting process, and then together with your partners, seeing that, okay, how can this be improved? What can be done? How can you actually capitalize on this and get more competitive advantage? We can help you with that if we get the next slide. We can design the reporting chain. We can get it up and running and help you with analyzing this. So if you're interested, then you can come talk to me later on, or here are my contact details as well. Thank you. I believe I made it.
Amazing, Magnus. I would love to do like a long fireside chat on this. So you actually really try to pull it together. And if anybody feels this a little bit fragmented and complex, I would really like to invite the guys who's kind of invented this regulatory regime. You want to point on someone. So Dr. Thomas Evert, Policy Analyst for the Green Digital Twin Transition. I hope you had a nice time. Welcome to the stage. I'm also going to invite Laura Hallenius and Kia. So we'll do the last 15 minutes together. The key to circular economy is scarcity, so we're quite scarce in time, but we will be very productive. So, Thomas, you're representing the European Commission DG Connect. Please introduce yourself in this framework.
Yes, hello everybody. I have to point at other people for inventing this. So I just joined DG Connect as a seconded national expert last September from German Environment Agency. And one of the main drivers to join was especially the digital product passport, because I think this is a tool which can be really useful. And as I don't have a lot of time now, I just try to point you at different things, different processes and sources of information. And for any further question, I'm also open if you follow up with me. So the first thing is a very important project, which has also been kind of the successor has been mentioned, Surpass 2. But there was also a project called Surpass. And when you want to get an overview about what is the current discussion about the digital product passport, they had a final event together with the Battery Pass project and the Digital Product Information 4.0 project. And when you search on the internet for Surpass final event, you will find all the slides and the recordings of the presentations. This was a full-day event just about the DPP, going into all directions. There are two more things which I would like to announce. So in the 22nd of May, there will be an information day on the whole ESPR, so the Eco-Design for Sustainable Product Regulation, which also includes some information on the DPP. And as the DPP is growing and growing in the discussion details, there will be a full-day event only on the DPP on the 11th of June. And this will go into the very details, because some of you might be familiar with the regulation. There are a few secondary legislation coming up specifying the details about the DPP, what we call the DPP system. So this is not what data is in the digital product passport. This is essentially only how do we make this work? How do we make this work across different industries? So how can we set up a system which is easy to use, where the steel, which has been just an example, could also be used then to transfer the knowledge into the DPP for example, cars or whatever comes up next. So this is kind of the way we think, and that's why we talk about the DPP system, and this will be a big issue to set up. And also one of the topics there is how do we help small or medium-sized enterprises which might not be able or digitized enough to set up the DPP themselves. And we foresee that there will be a market of so-called DPP service providers. And for example, the rules that they have to follow to become a DPP service provider will also be discussed in details in this upcoming delegated act. So there's a lot of things going on. Tune in the 11th of June for the event, and then you will have all the details. We will prepare some documents. We are drafting them already to share beforehand. The whole topic catches that much its attention that we cannot do a WebEx because the limits will be completely overrun. There will be just a streaming event, but you will have the possibility to follow up with us, give us your feedback, because this is a very important thing to get the feedback. And this is also, when you reflect a bit on the ESPR and where eco-design is coming from, it has always been a strong discussion with the industry to see what is possible, what is there as information to build on, because you cannot start everything from scratch. You have to build on what is already existing. And To go a step further, there will be also the question about what data will be in the digital product passport, and this is mainly coming from the delegated acts of eco-design, so the product regulations themselves. There will be a list which will be decided on the first quarter of next year, the so-called working plan for the ESPR. As already mentioned now, there are 2 product groups which stand out a bit because the preparatory work already started, and this is textiles at the one place and iron and steel at the other place. So if you're involved in these areas, already try to search for the preparatory studies of eco-design, get involved, because the feedback is needed to make it a system which runs for everybody. Because many of the things and the very useful and nice things we saw today, we cannot and we will not regulate. These are things which need to build up on a system. So the DPP will be a basic mandatory system, but a lot can be built on top of that. And I think that has also been shown just in the presentation before with the emissions, probably an information which is not necessarily B2C. The consumer, when he buys a washing machine, will not have the information about how much carbon footprint the steel which was used has been. It's not relevant for him. But this is a B2B information, and this is very important. So the DPP shall enable a lot of B2B information transfer, and what we heard as or I think you mentioned it, the circular data economy, how you called it. So that's where we want to go.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. I can reveal I have prepared questions, but I think I'm going to break my own rule because I might think that maybe some of your questions are even better than mine. So let's open for 1 question or 2. We really want to listen out. Anyone have also a specific question for Kia and Laura? Please, anyone in the audience?
Hi, this is Omar. I come from Bangladesh, representing Bangladesh apparel and textile industry. And my question to you actually, so I have been listening to the digital passport, all these things, but by this digital passport, we can actually ensure the traceability. But if you think about the transparency, so how could actually we put a system to ensure transparency, because we see in our apparel factories and manufacturers nowadays, they are practicing sustainability reporting, even they are putting their data on CDP, but there is no system to checking or validating the data. So how could actually we ensure the transparency?
Who wants to do the transparency shout out?
Would you like to go first?
Maybe I give it a start. So yeah, what you say is very important. And for the digital product passport, we can maybe ensure that the information stays correct, but we need to also think about how can we make sure that the information which is entered into the system is correct as well. So this is on the menu, and this is one of the things which we have to discuss when we're talking about the respective information requirements, because somebody needs to be able to check it. This is a concept which is running in eco-design already. The market surveillance authorities have to check all the information or have to be able to check. And this we need to think about all the data points which we want to have as mandatory data points in the digital product passport.
And Maria-Lisa, you're nodding, so we're into the, yes?
Yeah, you just came to in your end to the final point, but still we know that all the labels we have in our textiles, I don't know exactly the percent, but it's not accurate data. So it does not help the DPP either if that's not accurate data, and then the market surveillance is very key. And if you don't, if the member states or anyone else put resources on that, how on earth this would change anything is my question.
Thanks a lot. I want to challenge you, Kia. You've been diving deep down into, and I have this picture of this cow as a service on my mind here. So how do you see the Nordics becoming a test lab for these new circular business models? Ahead or behind?
Yeah. I think that we need to be. I think we owe to be, because we have such a vast amount of consumption in the Nordic countries. We see a lot of people really want to engage in this, but I think maybe just part of the landscape is not really responding to it and not really supporting these transformations. But we do see when we're looking at, as I said, there's some companies that are closing down, a lot of companies are closing down, but also a lot of companies are opening up. There was 5 new textile companies since 2021. So a lot of things is going on. I think we are also very brave in the Nordics. We want to pursue new ways of exploring consumption and production. So I think we can see it as a test lab, but there's a lot of work still needed also in terms of policy.
And well, it's a step ahead. I'm really excited to listen about those who try. And you also reached out that there are multiple risks for those who go ahead. So I really think that when we see the failures, we need to also learn and really cherish and embrace that, because this is a complex road. So this one is for you, Laura. What would you say would be the killer use cases that you want to see and can talk about in a year or two when we talk about PSS that are facilitated by new technologies?
Yeah, maybe when we talk about the DPPs, the first thing that comes to your mind is from the textile industry to give for the consumers, so the B2C, reliable information so they can make better decisions. But that is not the case. And as Thomas said, I think the killer use cases we can find from the B2B ecosystem, like the one I explained already. How can you charge premium from a CO2 neutral steel? That kind of use cases we have to see. All the logistics. DPP can be like a receipt for the CO2 neutral logistics. So these kind of things we need to see in the future, but the key is that we have to learn from each other. So we need the peer networks. Even the competitors at the moment in Finland want to discuss with each other. So there's a huge need for these kind of innovations and peer learning.
And then, Thomas, how do you see the role of the Nordics from your point of view from the EU Commission?
Yes, I think I can just underline what has been said. And we saw this also throughout the whole session. I mean, there's a lot of innovation ongoing, and what we do need is feedback from the real life. We can think about what we might be envisioning, but what we need is to have this running and working. And so we need, I think, all what was presented today. So the use cases, how a DPP can help for sustainable business models. And then we come to the first use case, because only having the DPP and only having the information doesn't necessarily change the world, because we need to set the boundary conditions right so that circular business models are the ones to choose. So the piloting I encourage very much. I'm happy that you get involved with all your expertise also in the Surpass 2 project, because the feedback is what we need.
I guess we don't have much of a choice. I guess we can all, per head count, we are representing the worst consumption of materials. So let's try to be brave and transition this. The last question is very open, but how do you feel the market will respond to this? Will we see any disruptive movements, or will it be risk related?
Are you talking about DPP or PSS?
Both, yes. Well, I would say the PSS, product service systems, the service business models.
Well, we can see in some areas that it's really it's growing a lot. For example, bicycles. It's all over Europe at the moment. Some of the product groups that we covered is only represented in the Nordic countries. But for example, bicycles and cars, of course, we see it's growing, and it's just a part of our everyday life. So I think it's the way ahead, and I think some of the major models is actually paving the way for some of the smaller ones. And yeah, I think the future is ahead, but I think we need to get rid of some of the barriers that's standing in front of the companies.
Any famous last words?
Well, get engaged, introduce piloting, and tell us what data you need for the digital product passport to work for the businesses as well.
Yeah, I think we have to start to pilot these things, and also somehow do the awareness building, because one thing is which is at the moment missing is the investors in Europe. We need the investments in these kind of new CO2 neutral business models. So if there are any investors here, pay attention. I think there is a lot potential here.
Thank you all. So the building a circular economy is not only about connecting the materials, but it's also connecting the people. And this is what we're going to do here today. I thank you all for contributing on this session and wrapping up and just learning how the data economy is needed for the circular economy. Birte Ivars, thank you so much for hosting us all and for the shared learning we did in the house of the Norway House. And thank you for all the contributors sharing your experience. And we encourage you all to talk with each other for when this session is done. And thank you all.